notice. So unapata kama hiyo ndo sheria ya kampuni na ulikuwa umesha sign hiyo contract hivyo, hakuna like pale utashikia hiyo kampuni kama imekupeleka kotini, because one thing I have to tell you also, the moment you resign, umetoka tu job bila notice, the employer can take you to court. They are allowed to. So tuseme kama contract yako ulikuwa umesign contract ya 3 years, alafu umefanya kazi 1 year ama 2 years, alafu decide wewe umechoka na hiyo kazi ama umepata kazi ingine, ama because wanakupressure, then useme udecide mi naacha hii kazi na pia hata siwaambii nimewacha. Those people can sue you, na wakikusuu utawalipa for the year hujafanya kazi. Tuseme ulikuwa ni contract ni ya 3 years, umefanya kazi 2 years, for the other 1 year imebaki, you will pay the company. So hiyo ni kitu moja watu hawajui. So I'm talking about Kenyan laws. Aya, apart from that, saa zenye unaingia kazi, kuna kwanga na, apart from contract, kuna kwanga na policies za kampuni on how they can dismiss you, ama on how you can have your leave days. Normally Kenyans wanaekanga 21 days, leave days, na kama ushafanya kazi for a certain period of time, wanakupatia sasa 30 days, 1 month leave. So kuna wengine pia wanasemanga after 3 or 4 years, kama pale nilikuwa na work, immediately I had finished my university, that was British Army. Walikuwa wanasema ukisha work after 3 years, now they give you a new contract for permanent and pension. Hawakuwa wanalipa pension, but it was on a permanent basis contract. So inamaanisha subditi wanaweza kukulipa from hiyo 3 years ikisha. Sasa the 4th year, sasa ukiwa umetoka hapa ama wamekudismiss tu kiholela holela, you can always sue them for service charges zenye umefanya nayo kazi hapo. Aya, so going back to the resignation. So kama umeambiwa ni 2 weeks, ukisign contract, make sure before you leave, just give a notice of 3 weeks. If at all, of 2 weeks. If at all, walikuwa wamekwambia ama the company had told you kuwa unakuwa dismissed ama wanakutoa kazi or something, they also have to, and normally most companies. So mimi wana koje kazi kama una feel mbaya before
Olwande, what's up?
She's speaking in small letters.
Olwande, network yako iko na issue, talk to us.
Alikuwa amenicall, so ndo nasema ni vizuri unasema. Sasa ukiandika kama ni time yenye sasa wanakudismiss, ama maybe kama sasa sisi project managers inafikanga time project inaisha. Kama project inaisha na hakuna contract ingine, it is always good unatoka before. But kama unakuwa dismissed, tuseme kulikuwa na shida fulani ama kulikuwa tuna issue wakaamua kukudismiss, normally wao wanakupatia notice 1 month before your time ifike. So before your time ifike, wewe jiondoe, because inafikanga time saa zenye sasa umekuwa dismissed hivyo, they are not giving you hata your benefits. Hata kama unataka work service certificate, they don't give you. So it doesn't really end well. But unapata in most Kenyan setup, wengi wanaendanga bila kuresign. So I just wanted to let you know somebody can sue you for it, and especially kama ilikuwa a situation where you signed a contract, unless kama ilikuwa tu hizi days you are being paid per day, hiyo nao unawezanga tu amka one day na useme hiyo job imekuchosha, you are going home and nobody will ask you. Lakini kama ulikuwa make some sign, ulisign somewhere, it is proper ufanye nini, uandike notice. Then nilikuwa nawasikia nikasikia kama mtu anasema story yake hapa vile the manager was trying to sabotage. They are not allowed to do that. If you feel you can no longer work with an organization na unataka kutoka, they have no mandate to hold you unless kama wana feel you are good enough. Mimi hata sioni kama huyo alikuwa ana feel huyo dem wherever, kama ni dem ama chali is good enough, alikuwa anajaribu tu kumsabotage. Juu kama mtu you are good enough na unataka kwenda in a greener pasture na your company does not want you to go, they write you a new contract. You see? So that I can remember even with my situation. There's a company I was working for them. Na mi walikuwa wananilipa pesa kidogo. Nawaambia hata hii kazi yenye nawafanyia mnanilipa pesa kidogo sana, but navumilia kwa sababu I had signed the previous contract. So nikafeel wananifrustrate and I said no, you see, let me just resign and leave. And I gave them a notice and left. So after some time ndo wakaona how serious the matter is. They called me back, but now when they called me back, they gave me a new contract. A new contract with my terms as well. So kama mtu ana feel uko good enough, the best thing to do ni kukudraftia contract mpya ili pia we ukue comfortable na we pia ufeel like your needs are being catered for. Enye kama afanyi hivyo, I feel ati uko good enough, ako jealous of you or something, but the company has no mandate to do that to you. So yes, I think those are the things I felt I should address. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission, Oluwande herself. I see Malia. Malia.
Thank you, Pipita. I just wanted to add on that. Okay, I wanted to talk about the issue of the accidents. Okay, maybe I can say that.
Topic kabisa.
Unajua, I've not actually had an experience whereby when you're leaving, you have an issue. All what I have been seeing is that, like in my case, you just hand in as per the contract or as per the stipulations, whatever you signed when you're going into the job, that if you're supposed to give a 1 month's notice or in lieu, you pay for that 1 month. So you forfeit 1 month's salary. So for me, I've been giving the 1 month notice because of handing over. So that 1 month I use it for handing over and winding up, tying up the loose ends. And then from there, I've been having smooth transition. I've not seen any problem. And I've even seen situations whereby people leave institutions, they go to other jobs, and if you're not satisfied, like you go to a new job and you're not okay with it, based on the relationship that you are having with your previous employer and your work, you can even go back. I've seen situations whereby people go back to their former employers if at all they go to the new job and maybe it doesn't turn out the way they thought it would. I've seen some places which do take people back even after you had resigned and started a new job. Yeah, or in other cases, maybe if you have a lot of leave days, you can take either paid leave or unpaid leave, and you go and see how the other place is. And if you like it, then that's when you can officially resign. So I haven't really seen any issues. Yeah, in terms of transitioning from one job to another, personally, I've not seen any issue. Yeah, and the people who also the people I know, I haven't seen any issue. I've not seen any issue. Of course, if the contract ends, sometimes it's not renewable. So that one it was expected that if it was a contract and, like in Kenya here, you cannot be on contract so long because you're supposed to be employed if you have really stayed on contract. So, yeah, so maybe I don't have much to say about it. That's why I'm taking you outside the topic. So, but I wanted to talk about road accidents. There's the rate of road accident in Kenya, it's really astronomical if you compare to other places. Our roads have a lot of problems. They have a lot of potholes. They have a lot of activity like animals crossing, border, driving in the wrong direction, people crossing even when the lights they don't follow the traffic lights. Now the lights are showing that, it's time for the cars to move, and then you see pedestrians are still crossing, like especially CBD is really crazy. Like things are just crazy over there. So I think Kenya is a very dangerous environment to be a driver. I always say that if you left your house and you come back, if you went with a car and you came back and you didn't have any incident or accident, it's just God who was watching over you, because there's so much that is wrong. Mara, these potholes which you may not have seen, the bumps are not marked correctly. Some people, like, they can't see those bumps if they are not marked, and most bumps in Kenya, they're not marked. So let's say if you're in an area which you're not familiar with the terrain, you may not even know where the bump is, you see, or where the potholes are, so that you can slow down. Other times you may end up getting into an accident when you're dodging a pothole. So in Kenyan roads, even if you've bought a sports car, I see that a lot of Kenyans have bought sports cars, and cars which have, high speed limits. Don't do that. Those cars, they are designed for roads, or clear roads yenye haina pothole, haina mambo mingi, haina, you don't expect that an animal may come out of nowhere and rush on the road, or somebody may just rush into the road, so, or you may find border is going the opposite side of the road. Kenyan roads are hectic, and then most people in Kenya, they didn't even attend. Okay, even me, I didn't really attend a driving school as such, but at least I try to, adhere with the lanes that you keep, which is the right lane. But in Kenya, you find that somebody is going to the next exit and they are on the innermost side. They don't even indicate. So when you're driving on Kenyan roads, you have to be very clear-headed. If you are drunk, okay, let me not put it as drunk, but I think if you're planning to go and drink, maybe you should just have plans for taking a cab. It's not that expensive compared to what it can cost you, because me, I've been in a situation where I've been in a vehicle with somebody who, okay, I didn't know, or rather we didn't know, we were a group, but we didn't know that this person has taken quite a bit. So it's only when now, when it comes to turning, I think when you take alcohol, when you have somewhere like a corner, your brain can't be able to negotiate the corner. Like if you are going straight, you'll just keep going straight, you see. So you'll not be able to see this is a turn, so you need to turn. So you'll find you have entered either in a ditch or whatever is on the side of the road, And also we have problem of these big trucks, long distance trucks, which overtake, and them because they're in a big vehicle, they don't see any big deal with overtaking on the wrong side. And then you may have to either go veer completely off the road. So you see, if you are now on high speeds, you'll not be able to navigate, you'll not be able to control the car, and you'll also not be able to make decision on how you can evade this kind of problem. So I cannot advise anybody to, first of all, if you want to take alcohol, decide then that you go and take the alcohol and then you take a cab. And just leave your car. Even when you're going, you can leave your car and just take a cab to wherever it is that you're going to drink. And then from there, you take a cab
1
back,
minute.
because there's no point in you going driving when you're drunk. You either end up hitting somebody, you kill somebody, and then, or you can even get a jail sentence. By the way, it's a very bad offense. So Kenyans, let's be careful, because we are in our roads are not the same as other roads. We have so many problems on our roads. Thank you.
Yeah, Madla, thank you for that. I think we'll bring that conversation on road safety within this week, because there was a conversation that really, there was a story that really hit me when this young man decided to, and it's actually on me that she's actually talking about the road safety thing. I am one of those people who advocate that so long as you like, in as much as you like your drink, you like your speed, I believe that your speed should not affect other people. So don't drink on the road and go killing people. So thank you for that also, Malia, also for helping me emphasize on that. I'm gonna have that conversation, that special conversation. Kuna kitu iliniuma kabisa ni the fact that the car that was hit last weekend by a speeding motor vehicle was actually a staff van. Imagine umetoka kazi usiku wa manane, umechoka, boom, somebody's racing, throws yani aligonga matatu kwa roundabout, the matatu rolled and threw people off the car. Can you imagine how crazy that is? So yes, we are definitely going to have a conversation on road safety within the week. I just want to wacha vita za car Twitter ziishe, because nimerealize kuna watu wenye wana magari wako na machungu na kuna wenye wako na magari wako na kiburi. So wacha hizo emotions kwanza zishuke chini, alafu we can have that conversation. Sahii unasikia sijui umeingia car Twitter. What is car Twitter anyway? So if I bought a car today, I am car Twitter. If I sold it tomorrow, I'm not car Twitter. Okay, never mind. So yeah, that is a conversation I'm going to have. But today I want us to talk about resignation, the importance of it, your experience with resignation, because I know people have had various experiences with resignation. And of course, what is your story, Oded? Home Run PP is supported by you, the listener. 0721948229 is the number to support this show. You know, one thing I also remembered that kuna watu wanaambianga ma lawyers, I know the law is very clear. Is there, can you tell your employer something like, I know my rights, and then you quit? I would want to know that. And of course, I see kina Marlon wako up in the building, and also any person who is in law, you can also request the microphone and talk to us. It's 4 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm going to tell you what is going to be happening in the middle of March after this submissions at the top of the hour, the next submission. So, Joely, your hand is up. I want to give you these 4 minutes to talk to us before I go to Dr. Mofo in the next hour.
Okay. There's something Luande said that I realized it was very important. And now the new workforce is now to same agency, right? And I have had friends who have businesses saying how wanaonanga vitu za miujiza na Gen Z. And miujiza is in form of someone just doesn't show up to work. They just don't show up to work. And just they woke up in the morning and decided, I don't feel like going to the office. I don't feel like resuming duties. And so what Olonde said was very important. As much as you feel like you don't want to do this anymore, that's why I say it's always important to know the divorce clause, exit clause of your employer. Know how you're going to exit, and it's so important. What if you missed what Olonde said? It said, just know there are employers who are capable of suing you in court and making you not get your dues, because you've violated your contract by just deciding not to turn up. You just decided you're done. You don't even resign. You just leave. I know it sounds cool to just send a message and saying I'm done, or just, we see those jokes online and we laugh about it. But in a country where employee rights are it's tricky. And I hope we'll have someone who understands labor disputes and labor law and what is actually possible and what is not possible. Someone talked about how their union was very useful and everything. Whether that is even something that even exists in Kenya, or it is just something that is very fictitious in the reality of every Kenyan mwananchi. Not everybody has that kind of experience in Kenya. So just be very careful. And then in the industry that share employees, if you destroy your relationship with your current employer, the next employer you go to might get wind from your former employer and just decide they're not gonna hire you. And these are like people in the media industry, in the entertainment industry, people in the accounting, in the finance industry. You have to be very careful how you exit, because it could either destroy your career or it can elevate your career. So the same way you put effort to enter is the same way you need to put effort when you're exiting. That's my advice for people.
This is Home Run with Pipi.
Yes, you're tuned into Home Run People, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, it's 7 p.m. East African time. Masani yale ya kuingia kuendelea na conversation yetu, ikiwa kwamba this is a social conversation platform. And you're giving you a chance to share your thoughts on various topics. And today we are talking about resignation in ikiwa kwamba ni investment Mondays here on Home Run. Tomorrow we'll be talking about state of the nation, and maybe we could go into the state of the infrastructure and talk about the roads and all that. But today I want us to keep it here. And of course, I wanted to just tell you on 14th and 13th of March 2025, I will be hosting Mizani Ustawi Conference pale hivi Bundus. Minda kwa MC pale. Come and let us have a conversation there. And of course, if you have not gotten your tickets, the tickets are going to be closing this week on Friday. Reach out to me or Eli Lukuyane of Mizani 254 team to get you a ticket. You don't want to miss it. The theme, let me just give you the theme for that, is going to be purpose-driven leadership. That is in 2025. So you don't want to miss that very, very important conversation. So it's going to be out there in Bundus. And of course, uko Bundus kitu inanibamba ni it's also outdoor. You're going to do some good camping, nice fresh air outside of town. And you're going to enjoy also the conversations and the well-planned event. So much to prepare for. Get ready for that. It's less than 3 weeks from now. Yo, reach out for the tickets, okay? Cool. Now that we have gotten that out of the way, I also want to let you know that you can also support us by going onto our YouTube channel, HRWP, and subscribe. We're also trying to get to 800 subscribers. 730 sai. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go to HRWP. I'm going to be dropping a series of videos by the name Just a Minute Wakili. And pale kwenye Just a Minute Wakili, I'll be dropping a series of questions that I have had, interactive questions with various lawyers here on the studio. So there's a lot of things that are coming out here kwenye Home Run with people. The year is just starting. In March, Home Run will be 1 year, 8 months old. We are running to July. July is going to be 2 years of Home Run, man. Can you believe that? What?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Welcome, Home Run with Pipi.
Also, I had asked a couple of questions on the timeline. I said, guys are saying that we should give a month's notice while quitting a job. Don't you think, out of spite, your employer might use that to show you dust? I know there must be 1 or 2 such incidents. And somebody said, for the years I was employed, I used issue a month's notice in each company, and all of them never paid me even after doing the orientation of my replacement. So I'm a big fan of just leave. That is one of the comments I'm getting there. But also I'll be getting to read more of the comments. There are a lot of comments on that. Kuna wengine ukishawaambia unataka kutoka kazi, mnaanza kuvurutana. Unaona madharau inaanza tu kupanda. You see, Odera is working in Europe, where there are laws which are actually active na watu wako na hadi unions, and you see he's also getting it hard transitioning during this month. Now imagine sasa sisi wenye wetu ni okay. I want to eat supper today, so taka nikule supper. but mnani get ndio. Yeah. Ama acha tu niwachezee jingle yake mtajua tu. Hiyo mtajua tu ni nani naongelea. So unaona sasa labor union zetu za huku Kenya wao ndo wanaambia employing companies kwamba hamwezi kuwa mnatuambia eti hiyo tu ndo hawa ndo watu wenye wamefuta. There is not company, those are not the companies that have closed. What do you mean?
Wengi watafunja redio zao, wengine watafunja television. They will not believe. They will not believe. They will not believe.
This is Home Run with Pipi.
Dr. Mofu, unajua alisema ati Friday nilikuwa on something. Sikukuwa on something. I was on the spirit ya mapenzi wadau. Yaani mtu tu anapenda tu mapenzi hivi kidogo yani, alafu sasa hata nilikuwa niweke Joylee wimbo by the way. Ana bahati sana. Ana bahati niko na huruma. Uko na bahati sana, leo ni Monday tumeanza kazi. Dr. Mofu, how are you doing?
Greetings, Pipita. Greetings, everybody in the house. And very good discussions here we're having. Perhaps, Pipita, when I looked at it and I wondered, perhaps the question should be, is a resignation a necessity? You know, is it a necessity? Or that's how I would think of it. But I want to give my experience in Kenya as an employee and as an employer. But when I talk about an employer, it's my capacity as a hiring manager. And then perhaps if I have time, I can give a brief experience of my own. Now, when I am not a lawyer, but having interacted with the interacted with the Employment Act of Kenya, I think it's 380 something. I have really learned a lot. So number one, resignation is a necessity always. Whether you are in formal employment or you are not in formal employment. According to the law, the Employment Act of Kenya, it says if you have been employed for more than 3 months, if you've been employed for more than 3 months, the employer must give you a notice of 3 months, of 2 weeks, sorry. That is of 2 weeks if you are leaving the job. And equally, should you want to leave the job, you must provide a notice of 2 weeks. That is if you have worked for cumulatively a period of more than 3 months. The Act equally says if you have been in formal employment, I mean if you are in a formal contract with an employer, the period of notice that is needed is 2 months, it's 2 weeks, sorry, either way. Or if you leave before or you leave without the notice, you're paid in lieu notice. Now, it can be more than 2 weeks if the contract says otherwise and you have signed. There are people who give resignation notice for 3 months because the contract they have signed states the same. There are those who, majorly, what we interact with, they give a notice of 1 month because the contract states the same. Now, when you resign, what happens? When you resign, just like the gentleman has explained, you may proceed for annual leave, okay, if there are days that you have not taken for leave. That's to say, if they're equivalent to 1 month, you will sign and you will give a resignation and you say, I want to be out during the time of notice for 1 month. And then you'll be paid at the end and everything will be clear. There are those people who say, no, we'll give you their leave days and you will serve the notice. All that is provided for. Now, when you go, you get gratuity. Are there payments up and above for the years of service that you've served the company? It is the discretion of the employer. If you have been on pension and if you've been paying for the NSSF, and I want people to understand this, if you're being on pension, that's it, you pay for the pay, it's a pensionable job, you do not draw any gratuity or any services from the employer by law. And if you get, that is a discretion purely by the employer. Now, if you're on NSSF, which is mandatory for every employee in Kenya, you certainly don't ask for years of service. There's nothing like that. But in most places where I've served, when you work for 1 year, out of their discretion, which is not provided for by the law, they have always given me 1 month pay for every year fully served. So that is how it goes. The way resignations are done or the way you leave job, it could be either mutual agreement. You say, I want to resign, then it is accepted, or it is negotiated. They bargain, they negotiate. The other thing, there's also something called the dismissal, summary dismissal. On terms of summary dismissal, that is, you have done something called the gross misconduct. On those bases, maybe theft or anything, the employer gives you a note, it tells you to resign, gives you a notice to terminate of termination, and you leave immediately. Okay? So those they don't want you, so you leave immediately. The others where you could have negotiated exit. That is something they call the constructive dismissal. Constructive dismissal is where the employer thinks you've been the situation has become impossible, or the situation is not conducive for both of you to continue working. They ask you to resign. So you pen a resignation to paper, not voluntarily, but because it is not conducive going forward. That is constructive dismissal, and you go out of company. In other ways, there can also be other ways of termination of work where it is not outright summary dismissal, but you've gone through series of dismissal where maybe you're given warning letter number 1, warning letter number 2, warning letter number 3. When you get warning letter number 3, that is equivalent to summary dismissal where you leave job immediately. Now, what are my experiences? I've gone through constructive dismissal for my first work, which I did for about 9 years. It was a painful job. It was a painful exit because I loved the job. And I would advise everybody, and especially the young people, do not stay in one company for more than necessary. Because what will happen is you will make the marriage or the stay almost impossible to separate. The moment anything strikes and you're leaving the company, you feel cheated, you feel vulnerable, you feel these people have wasted your time. And there's also another thing. You have gained experience within one company, within one line of job, and you think you know everything. The moment you walk out of that company, you realize you know nothing because you've been brainwashed over time. The company has used you. So that's the series I went through. It was painful. I went out. I reconstructed my job myself. I worked myself up again, and I was happy about it. But it was more about toxic environment that was brought up by some competitive, bad colleagues who felt maybe I was very successful. Because what happened in my work, I used to do more of consultation, more of consultative, more of consultation, okay? But over years on my side, I was able to do my own work, more or less what you call mushrooming, but it never affected my work at all. So I tended to make so much money on the side. And I think people realized I was doing very well. I tried very well. I built a mansionette for that time. I think in Kenya, shillings must have been in the tune of 20 million. People knew about it, and it worked against me. Fortunately, I had a constructive dismissal where I got everything, including my years of service, and that ended. My experience again as a hiring manager is where the employer I was working for was very mean. So he told me that I would do a contract, to come up with an idea where I do a contract where we don't tie employees. So what I came up with a contract that was more of consultation. So we give you job as a consultant, okay? So when your job as a consultant, the terms of employment that are provided for in the Employment Act do not apply. You pay for your own taxes, you pay for your own NHF, you pay for your everything. So by so doing, what happened is I would give a contract for a certain period of time, and then when that time comes and we feel we need you, we would rehire you, or it would end automatically. So those are the experiences we had. One incident I got is one of the employer, we dismissed him, and what I did is I did it verbally. Don't take this against me. I had very strict employer and very strict instructions on me. So the guy left the job. He went, consulted a lawyer, and he brought a letter that was addressed to me so that I would be able to be dragged in court, and so they were coming up with some demands. So fortunately, what I did is I just wrote the lawyer and I said the guy was not dismissed. And I asked the lawyer, please provide the proof that the guy was dismissed. Luckily, because they wanted me to engage them in writing so that I would admit in the process that there was a dismissal, which I said, please provide me with the proof that the guy was dismissed. So all happened is I was able to persuade the employer to pay this guy for the period that was not paid for. But ultimately, it ended like that because there was no binding contract that would have dragged us in court. So those are the experiences I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission, Dr. Mofo, and of course, also sharing your experience. I always say that here on Home Run, we give you a chance to share your experience because at least we just don't talk about textbook conversations. So thank you so much for that. And also, as I was saying, you can join me for Mizani Yostawi Conference 2025. The topic, the theme is purpose-driven leadership. You can buy your tickets right now at Mizani254.org, and also you can use my code to get 1,000 free from the ticket. So instead of paying for 2,500, you pay 1,500. See, for 2 days. Imagine. Anyway, I see Marlon. I'm gonna go to Marlon and Diamonds, then Olwande, because I know Diamonds has not spoken. So I'm going to go to Marlon of Mangombe Advocates, and of course, Diamonds ametoroka. Yes, of course, Diamonds, if he will be back, and Olwande. Marlon, how are you doing?
Good, Pipita. Congratulations in advance for your 2 years in July. Let me not wait until July to tell you congratulations. So congratulations. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. Resignation is a very interesting conversation. This coming from a person who has to deal with issues of exit in a company, number one, and also as somebody who has to directly interact with such circumstances. I want to pick up what the gentleman who just spoke, Dr. Mofo, he's brought out something very interesting, something called constructive termination. which is actually it's a judicial child. It's a judicial child, a judicial creation. By a judicial child, I mean a judicial creation of unfair termination. And so in constructive termination, this is where you join the dots to actually bring you to the conclusion that somebody has been terminated unfairly. So that is why I speak of it as a judicial creation, because ultimately it's defined by a court saying, by the way, we bring it out in form of the circumstances leading from and up to the termination, that you're able to say, this was constructive termination, where one day you're told don't come, another day you come, you're told don't come again. So that's what I want to speak about constructive termination. Second thing about is with regard to resignation is with regard to notice. You calculate your notice based on how you're paid. It's not cast in stone. People are paid differently. The standard employment period for majority, not all, majority of companies in Kenya is 30 days. And how do you know the standard employment is after which period are you paid? Most people are paid for 25 work day. 25, is it 25 or 27 working days? 25, I think, because it's 30 minus the 4 days, the four days, which is on every weekend. So the standard is a month, and that is why majority of the contracts misleadingly create the impression that notice should be 30 days. But ideally, notice is from when you receive your payment. So if you receive your payment within a month, then your notice is within a month. If you receive it within a week, then your notice is within a week. If you receive it within 2 weeks, then your notice is within 2 weeks. The gauge for what is your standard notice is after how long are you paid. That notwithstanding, they can be, because the more delicate your work is, the higher your notice, your period of notice. Delicate now, for example, critical infrastructure people in big parastatals like Safaricom. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said Safaricom, but people in critical organizations. Think of bigger organizations in this country. The periods, notice periods can go as high as 3 months. That's is it 90, 30, 30, 60, 30, 90? Yes. Why? Notwithstanding that they are paid month to month. Critical because the positions they hold is so critical that if a guy just fails to show up, it will just throw the company into a spin. And so the company wants to prepare itself for once the psychology of it is to make exit so consequential, you just don't wake up one day and say, funk this, let me just quit. So that's a way of the company guarding its deliverables, so that there's some uniformity in as you came in, because somebody just doesn't show up in a company and starts working tomorrow. It takes time. It takes time, and so even what is it called? Onboarding people it takes time, and so outboards should also, be dignified. About how people resign in this country, I think the ethics, and this I speak not as somebody who defends both employees and employers. The standard of ethics has kept going down, and I was speaking to some people who have grounding, some people who've worked for over 35 years, who've worked over 40 years, and I was shifting the burden on them, because what you rub off your colleagues is enough for them to shape up and take levels of responsibility. And I kept telling them, maybe it's time the older generation starts exiting slowly, so that this younger generation is able to come in and start filling in positions based on experience, and so that some of these ethics and moral grounding can take root. It's funny, I know of circumstances where young people, engineers to even more, concrete employees, just wake up one morning and they just quit, and it becomes problematic. And it's across the board, both from professionals to non-professionals. And I think, and judging from the experience of interaction that I've had, and I'm not shooting people unfairly. I think the younger, and maybe also because I don't belong in that age bracket of very young, or is it the Gen Z or the X or the whatever? I think there needs to be a level of seriousness in sometimes how they take work and the responsibilities of work. Because you see, resignation shouldn't be somebody. I think it was Joy who spoke before Dr. Morpho, who said there are particular people who, the employment band in this country is very small, so that you can only go too far if you're burning bridges everywhere you go. And people should be alive to the fact that, you might not get along with whoever it is that you're engaged in at that time. You're better off leaving, as opposed to burning that bridge and making it worse off. Because a lot of institutions would rather find out from your previous engagement what your work ethics is, because it's a risk they're willing to take to believe the guy who you were engaged with last 100%, as opposed to having to experience you, and then you just wreck their work, and think that you get away with it. I'm sorry to say this, and I say this because I've engaged with both spectrums, employee and employer. An employee can come, a former employee can come to me to do a matter with them, and I can tell it from the set of circumstances that you're fighting a losing battle. And I'll just advise them. I'll tell them, hey, this one, I chase people. I give them an honest opinion. I tell them, this one, I don't think you'll succeed. And they might not really like my opinion or agree with my opinion, but after a year or 2 years in court, you meet them at a restaurant, and they'll realize you actually told them the truth because they lost the case. And because some people just don't take, I would encourage people, don't burn bridges for whatever reason. Just have there's this word they use, emotional intelligence of living. Nobody is asking you to stick in a stuck-up job, but have the emotional intelligence to just wrap things as neatly and as profitable, as respectful as you came in. Because that's a company might not work the way you want, but the person who started that company put time and effort. So at least, if for nothing at all, give them respect for their time and effort. That said, I hope my contribution is worth it in so far as to answer the question on notice. Thank you, Pipita.
Thank you so much for that, Marlon. Thank you for your submission as well. And I want to move this microphone to the next person, but also just to point out that it's very important for you to just have that rapport from what I'm getting from Marlon, that let us not be those people who quit jobs and disappear. There are people who want to throw tantrums. Because you come and tell the boss, let me tell you, I have a home. And there's this Gen Z joke that they're saying, you usinishautie. Lakini watoto wenye walipata wazazi wamejenga bwana. We have somewhere to go bwana. Usitu stress. For those people who grew up in times where yeah, if you go back home, your father is asking you, why are you here? Yeah, and you look at our dads and moms, they quickly got married after school. 21, 22, bwana na bibi harusi. So you wonder, hey, kwani namna ni gani hapa hivi? But right now, you get that labor laws have improved. And of course, you find that now there are things like 1 month notice, but I don't think in industry area there is something like 1 month notice. Wewe Odera nafanya nini hapa? Toka. Naenda na panarudi kesho, okay? Sawa. Okay, the other ones I can't say here because I told you the show is listened to by families. But there's also a lot of things that come after. Wewe nafanya nini ya cook it? Okay, cool. Let's keep it that way. So there is a lot of things that have changed. And also the exposure that our people that have gone beyond the borders of Kenya have also experienced. You see, we are even getting stories from people who are in other places, in other jurisdictions, also in this conversation. So thank you so much for being here. It's 7:30 East African. We're just getting started. We have like 1.5 hours to go. So don't you go anywhere, and keep retweeting the space. And if you like what you're doing, there's a tip jar line for you to support. Dr. Mofa, I saw your mic was on. I want to go to you, then Gail, Joy Lee, and Ismail Luta. Dr. Mofo.
Thank you, Pipita. The insistence that don't burn your bridges, it is an important saying. However, never bend your principles. Never allow yourself to be dragged into things that are not necessary. Why do I say so? The relationship, it is both way. And two, if you work hard and you work well, diligently and honestly, there's a God in heaven who rewards honesty. So never be compelled to believe that you must bend your principles just to appease your employer and also in case of tomorrow. If, for example, you leave job, the employer is supposed, by the Employment Act, which I'll send to you, is supposed to give you something that's called the certificate of notice. The certificate of notice has certain things that must be put in it. It is a legal requirement that it must be provided. In that letter of notice, the employer is not bound. It's not bound. Listen to this. It's not bound to give you a recommendation. If it gives you a recommendation, it is because you had a good relationship. But either way, the letter of service should not at any point state that you are not a good employer. In case such a thing happens, you can take it against your employer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mufo, and also appreciate when people talk, also bring up the Bible because it keeps it religious as well. Gail, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Welcome.
Thank you. Obviously, I will be speaking from South African's point of view, and just in general, for anybody who is an employee, if they want to leave. I mean, I'm not going to repeat what others have already mentioned, but for me, just to answer your question, I think resignation is a notice important. I think it is important. One had a relationship with your employer. So irrespective of things might have gone sour between you and your employer, it is important that you still serve the notice because you don't want to burn bridges. Some industries are very, very small that they will get to know about your exit. So imagine if you didn't even serve notice and you just left and expecting the potential employer to give you a contract knowing how you left your previous employer. You might already be seen or labeled as a person who is a bit problematic, and people might not want to work with you or even give you a job. Some of the potential employer even do reach out to some of the talent or recruitment agencies or the talent, managers in your previous employer just to try and understand, as part of reference, because they're allowed to make reference. And we do know that people normally in the reference, they do lie. Some people don't even put their managers. They've definitely put their friends, but the employer can reach out to your previous employer just to understand, your working relationship with other people if they feel that there's a need for them to do that. So, I always look at this and say, even if you are so unhappy with your manager and that's the reason why you are leaving, still serve that notice. It is just 1 month for others. And it depends on the management level. I mean, in other companies, you can serve 3 months notice. In others, 6 months notice. So you will still have to serve that notice. And you can then negotiate with your manager if you feel that 3 months is too long. You like to serve just two months notice, and then 1 you will work from home. That, I think, for me, it's still something that acceptable than just you packing and leaving. Because even if you are going to start your own business, you will still need some relationships, in the industry. You're going to, need customers. You're going to need, probably even employing other people. So when they talk about those company values, they're also applicable when you resign. So I always find it very interesting when people just pack their bags because they're very angry. They don't even want to deal with anybody anymore. They don't want to deal with their managers. It's for me, it really doesn't make sense because you don't know tomorrow who you're going to meet on the other side. You might be running away from the same manager, but after 2 months, when you're on the other side, he might come back as your manager again, or even senior, on the other side. For the employers, it's critical because they want to make sure that you hand over your work properly to somebody who will take over, just to give them an update if you're working on projects, whatever it is, but just to make sure that this has been handed over properly. So companies can, if you just decide to leave, can decide to keep some of the benefits away from you because your contract is very clear when you sign it that you've got a 3 months notice that you have to give, or you've got 2 months or 1 month notice. So therefore, you're obliged to serve that notice. If you don't, some of the benefits, they can keep, in fact, all the benefits because you didn't honor your contract. So I do find it a bit strange when people just get emotional during the resignation and then pack their bags and not even want to serve notice, hand over, nothing. Some of them will even leave the laptops by the reception. I think that is so immature of such employees. It just shows that even where they are going to have the same problems. So yeah, for me, Pipita, it is very important that you do serve your notice as per the contract. And you can negotiate if you feel that 3 months is a lot. And then you can serve 2 months, and then they can do that. I mean, there are employers who have no problem with you negotiating. And also, you just don't want people to think that you are leaving because you are so angry with somebody, that you are leaving because you want to advance your career somewhere else, or, you just saw new opportunities, or you've decided that you are going to start your own business, and you will still need even your previous employers because there might be an opportunity for you to do business with them. So I believe that we must remain professional, irrespective of the circumstances, especially when you're leaving an organization. Thanks, Pipit.
Thank you, Ngeo, for also giving us a view of South Africa. Hey, now we are becoming a global show. We have gotten a touch of the European job market, American job market, South African, Kenyan. Okay. Maybe the Ugandan can tell us what is happening in Kampala. Our brothers, Kina Benjamin. Joy Lee.
Unfortunately, I think he's gone down. I wanted Mwangombe to discuss about people who are in the industrial sector. Those who are forced to have that contract kind of employment where they work a certain number of days and then they get, quote unquote, let go, so that they are not entitled to like pension and other benefits, and then rehired. Whether they what recourse can they take, and also those who work in the hospitality industry, because I feel like they really experience a lot of exploitation. People who are in hotels, in restaurants, people who work in the like house girls. I want